Fancy shirts and plain shirts. Okay, let's go back to that 7. So I'm going to say F stands for fancy shirts and P stands for plain shirts. So F is the number of fancy shirts she bought. P is the number of plain shirts she bought. You got to be kind of specific. It doesn't stand for the price of the shirt. It stands for the number of fancy shirts she bought, number of plain shirts she bought. Okay, at the last sentence it said she bought 7. That's actually an equation right there. So if she bought 7 shirts, what would that look like as an equation? Right, fancy shirts plus plain shirts should equal 7. Okay, let's call that like the total equation. Like these plus these total up to 7. Okay. The other equation is going to be, I'm going to call it the value equation. Okay. What was each fancy shirt worth? What was it worth? 28 bucks. So how much money did she spend on fancy shirts? $28 times what? The number of fancy shirts she bought. How much money did she spend on plain shirts? 15 bucks. So $15 times the number of plain shirts. Now if you total up how much she spent on fancy shirts and how much she spent on plain shirts, that should equal the total amount of money she spent, 131. Okay, now it looks like, you know, what we've been doing. I'm not sure I'm going to finish most of these with you since this part's like the old stuff. Maybe let's just do one as like a refresher. Let's just finish this one. All right, what do you guys think's the easiest? If you like substitution, you could do it. You could like subtract P. I don't like substitution as much. You could subtract the P value and F would equal 7 minus P, and then you could replace F with 7 minus P. How would we use elimination? That's what I'm going to do. Okay, just so the numbers are smaller, I'm going to get rid of the P. So what should I multiply this P by so that they go away? Negative 15. So I'm going to multiply the top line times negative 15. You could do the negative 28 thing also. That would also work. Alright, so the top line becomes negative 15F minus 15P equals negative 105. So that one from there. Okay, if I add the two lines together, the plain shirts cancel out, the P's cancel out. 28F minus 15F is 13F. And 131 minus 105 is 26. This should come out no fraction. Fractions don't really make sense. Sometimes, some problems, fractions and decimals make sense. But if we're talking about the number of shirts she bought, does 1.5 sound like a likely answer? No, you can't buy half a shirt. I'm sure somebody has a joke right there, but no, you can't. So F equals 2. What does that mean? It means she bought... Yeah, there's the joke. Thank you. So the fancy shirts are 2. She bought 2 fancy shirts, which means how many plain shirts must she have bought? Bought 5. 2 plus 5 equals 7, right? So, because it says she bought 7 shirts in total, so she must have bought 5 plain. All right, not too scary, right?
For now.
For now. Okay, I'll do number 2, and then number 3 is like number 2, so I'll probably leave that on you. This one's kind of a weird one. Number 2, number 1 is pretty common, like the money thing. They like to do those problems. 2 is kind of weird. I've never seen 2 before, but same idea. There are 13 animals in the barn. Some are chicken and some are pigs. So that is an equation right there. What's our 2 variables?
13 and 40.
Variables are unknown values that we're looking for. Chickens and pigs. And how many chickens and pigs were there?
13.
13. Okay, that's like our total equation.
There's 40 legs.
Okay. There are 40 legs in the barn. So we got to figure out how many chickens and pigs there must be. Okay, how would we figure out the number of chicken legs?
2C.
2 legs times the number of chickens. How would we figure out the number of pig legs? 4 pig legs times the number of pigs. And then that should equal the total number of legs. What was it? 40? You know what? Just because. Let's practice one substitution. So I normally wouldn't do this, but I don't want you guys to forget it. So to use substitution, you need to get C or P by itself. So if I subtract P, I get C equals 13 minus P. So I can substitute C, I can replace C in the other equation with 13 minus P. So the second equation times 2 what's negative 2p plus 4p? 2p. Alright, I think I'm going to actually stop right there. You guys keep going. You need to find a number of pickens and chigs. Chigs. Pickens and chigs. That's the pickens and chigs. The number of pigs is P. Once you solve for P, plug it right there. That's chickens. Pickens and chigs.
Pickens and chigs.
Yep. Number 4. I'm kind of just trying to do one of each. They kind of double up on these problems. There's another leg problem on number 3 and number 5. So I'll probably just leave those to you guys. Okay, so number 4, a class of 195 students went on a field trip. They took 7 vehicles, some are cars, and some buses. Okay, so what are the 2 variables? Cars and buses. So the number of cars plus the number of buses should equal 7 vehicles. 7. Okay, find the number of cars and the number of buses they took if each car holds 5 and each bus holds 45. So the number of kids that rode in the cars is 5 times the number of cars. The number of kids that rode in buses is 45 times however many buses they took. And that should add up to the total number of kids that went, which is 195. Alright, that was number 4. I skipped number 3. You do need to go back and do it. I'll count like each of these worth 2 points each, like 1 for like showing some work and at least trying, and then 1 for the right answer. That's usually how I do word problems. Alright. I think I'm going to jump all the way to number 7 because that's 7 and 8 I think are the same. Actually, no, they're not. I mean, these are all kind of similar. I don't know if there's really. Okay, now let's do 8. Let's do 8. Okay, number 8, Molly's Custom Kitchens Supplies sells handmade forks and spoons. That's probably the variable, forks and spoons. It costs the store $1.70 to buy the supplies to make a fork and $1.30 to buy the supplies to make a spoon. The store sells forks for $5.60, that's the trickier one, and spoons for $5.40. Last April, Molly's Custom Kitchen Supplies spent $37.90 on materials for forks and spoons. They sold the finished products for a total of $147.20. How many forks and how many spoons did they make? They're kind of assuming they sold all the forks and spoons they made, but that's okay. All right, this one is a little bit different. So there's kind of one equation where we're going to talk about like how much it costs to make all the forks and spoons, and then one equation is going to like describe how much money they made from forks and spoons. So it says it cost $1.70 to make a fork, basically. So how much did they spend on forks? $1.70 times the number of forks. Now, if we're doing decimals, do we really need that 0? No, but it's not wrong either. So $1.70 times forks, plus they spent $1.30 times the number of spoons. S, I'm not really a big fan of S because it looks like a 5 and confuses people, but I don't know, P for spoons maybe? Spoons.
Double O's.
Just put N's.
And, okay, fine.
N for new.
Whatever.
N for what? Spoon. Who's? I'm doing.
Okay, it says how much did they spend in total? $37.90. They didn't make a ton of silverware. So in total, they should have spent $37.90 on supplies. Okay, and then the other one is how much money did they make? So it says they sell forks for $5.60 and spoons for $5.40. So they get $5.60 times the number of forks, and they get $5.40 times the number of spoons. And in total, they made how much money? $147.20. This one's just kind of a mess, isn't it?
Yep. Let's not corn.
I don't know. Do you guys know, does 17 go into 560? No, I don't think it does. Does 13 go into 54? No, it doesn't quite work. So we're gonna have to think of something else.
You're going to multiply both of them by each other.
Yeah, that's probably the way I would do it. You could use substitution, it would be a mess, but so I don't know. Let's just look at the forks over here, I guess. If I multiply this one by 560 or 5.6, and this one by $1.70, or actually let's make it negative 1.7. That should make the forks the same. Definitely need a calculator for this one. Really, you're gonna do that in your head?
Uh-huh.
Not advised. Not advised.
I'm a genius.
Here you go. It sure will. Brian, do it. Do it.
No.
Do it.
Brian, I believe in you.
Do what?
You want?
Mr. Jordan, you need a bigger classroom.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should get that.
Well, you.
Or what would be even better is if I had you guys like in 2 hours instead of 1 hour.
Do you want to know the hours?
No, but
Don't you,
Your
you
birthday.
don't have a class first hour, do you?
I do, yeah.
Second hour?
No, I don't.
I know what one. I have a class.
But you guys have classes second hour.
On
so it's
average,
not gonna
how
work.
many hours?
I think we should just kick out Brooke. She keeps talking.
Yeah, I agree
That
with
makes sense.
I can't.
Brett, do not touch Atticus's leg, please.
You keep on moving your leg.
Yeah, stop
Like,
showing.
It's like siblings. You can't cross this line.
Yeah, because you can't
Don't
cross
cross this line, Brooke.
it. That's you.
You're crossing it right now.
Hey now.
You're right. You crossed it. You're crossing it right now.
Okay, anyways,
What?
now, whatever 5.6 times 170 or negative 1.7 times 560 is, these two will be the same, so they'll cancel out. You don't really have to multiply these, the F's, the forks, because they will go away, but you do need to multiply the spoons.
This game sucks.
You're not doing it with us?
Well, I don't have a calculator in it.
I got you.
Well, I'll let you plug it in, how about that? That'll help. So 5.6 times the top line. Let's do
Already
that.
done with the calculations.
All right, Hank, what'd you get?
Thanks, Hank.
Not the answer, I just want the multiply part.
It'd be 9.52.
Are you talking about the F's or the N's?
It'd be 9.52 F plus 7.281.
Oh my.
You literally crossing it.
7.82?
2.8.
I'm trying to do
And then
my
it'd be equals 212.24. Sorry. Then the bottom one is negative 9.52 F minus 9.18 N equals negative 250.24.
Now, we're talking about number of forks and spoons they made, so should this come out as a decimal?
Yes, sir.
No. The number of forks, the final answer, there's decimals all over the problem, but the final answer, the number of forks and spoons, you can't make, well, you can, but they're not gonna make and sell half a fork. So, there's not gonna,
Yeah, I'll just take
You discounted price.
So like a toque?
so there should be no decimal if we did it right, that's what I'm saying. No fractions.
Yeah, it's like
I'm
a
working on
but
the
there's
report, so I took
Okay.
a party.
If you add the two lines together, the forks go away. This looks like negative 2.9. Did I do that right? Or negative, no, hold on.
Negative 1.9.
1.9, there you go.
11.
Okay, and this comes out as 38.
100.
It's
Negative 38.
Ow.
Yeah, and also negative answers would not make sense. Negative answers would not make sense on this.
You don't have negative forks.
You don't have a negative number of forks you made.
I owed my friend a fork.
Okay, so remember, I don't know if you guys remember, it stood for spoon. So they made 20 spoons. How do we figure out the forks? Yeah, it's still kind of a mess. We'd have to plug in 20 for N somewhere.
Sure.
And solve for F. I think that's where I'm gonna stop.
Talking about
Mr. Frederick.